muted it. Hi, everyone. It's me again. Welcome to the Nine-Sided Circle. I'm your host, Noor Kyle.
And I am now, again, finally, her faithful sidekick, Mushtaq Ali.
Yeah, I wonder how this has been. I wonder how the intro went when I wasn't here.
It
I'll
was
have to get
stupider.
that. All right, so thank you so much to all of you for being here. I really appreciate seeing you all again. I miss you when I am not here. And I'm having a wonderful time visiting family and friends and doing what I call like the pilgrimage to see my elders. My grandparents are still with us, so wow, it's an adventure. So welcome, welcome, those of you who have joined us today live and those of you who are watching on the replay. We so appreciate you being with us, and I'm excited for this talk today. Before we get into it, of course, I invite you to support us. Please, definitely, if you are into what we do, let us know. The ways that you can do that are to subscribe to our channel, like this video, leave a comment letting us know what came up for you when you were watching, and add to the conversation. I'm sure you have your thoughts to add and your questions to ask, and this is for all of us. So seize that, leap into that, because this is for all of us. So if you'd like to join our Facebook group or our email list, of course, we have those things in the description. We don't need to be limited to one mode of communication. In these times, it's important to have multiple ways to stay connected. So we always encourage people to do that. And of course, we do welcome your donations. So we have links for those things below in the description. And if you're interested in one-on-ones or two-on-ones, if you want to work with Mushtaq and me together and get our complementary but sometimes differing viewpoints,
Yeah,
we are
we
here
will
for
argue with each other on how you should be enlightened.
you. But all for your benefit, of course.
Or at
So,
least amusement.
yes. All of these things, I hate to repeat myself. I'm sorry. You'll find the links in the description. Dive in there, and we hope to be connected with you in more than just this way. All right. So,
We have
Mushtaq,
one more announcement.
please.
Starting next week, we are starting our annual fun drive. Not fund drive, but fun drive, because we like it to be a good time. And this year, I am very excited to announce that we will be able to um, return the gift that you give us. For anybody who donates above certain small amount, I have been working for the last year on translating sections of the Nafahat al-Uns, uh, the Fellowship of Spirit,
By who?
by Jami, one of
Mm.
the great Sufis of Central Asia. It's considered one of the more important works, and it consists of 9 chapters of instructional material and then 300 pages of biographies of all the great Sufis up until his time. And that's too much for me to translate all at once because my Farsi is not that good. Even with modern technology, it takes a long time to cross-check everything. But what you're going to get if you donate to us, and there'll be a bigger announcement next week, is a copy of an abridgment of the Nafahat that will include the first 9 chapters, which is all of the instructional stuff, plus a selection of my favorite Sufi teachers. Uh, and that will be a gift to anybody who cares to support us. So
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
something
More
to look
details
forward.
forthcoming.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mushtaq. I am definitely excited for this topic this evening. This morning, by the way, before I forget, I do want to mention that this is our morning talk that we do every third Sunday of each month because we want to make sure that we accommodate you folks who can't join us at our usual time. of 6:30 p.m. Now, of course, this is Pacific time as we are based in California, and that means we are always trying to incorporate options for people all over the world to be able to participate in the group work that we do and not just have to be stuck watching on YouTube. So this is how we try to keep the door open. So you are welcome to join us at either time, and we are happy to see you. So,
And we have one more thing. We must take a moment of excitement and enthusiasm. Adrian, so good to see you. Damn, I've missed you.
hi.
Did, I was unmuted. Hi. Good to see you too. Wow, it's a long time.
Yeah, too
Please
Yeah.
long.
proceed, please proceed.
Yeah, but I could not pass up the chance to embarrass you.
All right.
Yes. All right. So, what are we getting into today, Mushtaq?
Oh, we are getting into some great fun today. We are going to talk about Gurdjieff's idea of sensing, and we're going to relate it to some of Ibn Arabi's work because they seem to be directly related to each other.
Yes.
And we're going to create a situation where you can do your own sensing practices and use them daily. And it's easy and it's fun and it's low calorie. You will never gain weight sensing. So to start, we have to look at a wonderful Arabic word. And that word is barzakh. And it literally means a barrier or an obstacle or an isthmus. You all know what an isthmus is, right? An isthmus is a connector. It's usually a narrow, uh, often a tract of land or something that connects one thing to another. So it's both a barrier and a connection. It's used in standard Islamic terms as uh, the intermediate state between death and the judgment, where all of the dead people are sitting in their graves for however long and contemplating their lives. That's the barzakh. And they say that if you're a good Muslim, it's a fun time, and if you're a terrible person, it's a bad time. We don't care about that. I mean, that's inevitable. We will deal with it when it comes. But what it means for us is something a bit different. And uh, for Ibn Arabi, he latched onto this term as the connector between the phenomenal world and the alam al-mithal, the imaginal world. And it's a lot of stuff. This is where if you were to unfortunately deal with spirits, they would appear in imaginal bodies and things like that. But we don't care about that. What we care about is uh, it is this principle of in-betweenness between the waking state and the sleeping state. And the sleeping state is our everyday state. It's now. This is not the waking state. When you are in a sense of uh, just mechanical moving through life, you're asleep. But you can be awake. And Ibn Arabi considered the barzakh the the isthmus by which you could pass from one continent to another. Does that sort of make sense so far? I've never tried to explain this to people. So, uh,
Any questions so far?
answers. Any answers so far?
Yes.
We love answers. And so here's a question for you. Why would Ibn Arabi think that that the isthmus, that the barzakh is both a barrier and a connection? Because he viewed that paradoxically as both. Don't everybody talk at once. We got time for all of you.
Is it perhaps a barrier in the sense that we may be trying to get things on the other side but can't get there? So as an asleep person that has a mechanical habit of losing one's temper or worrying or lamenting about something and wanting not to do that, but knowing the only way not to do that is be something else on the other side, and therefore it's a barrier. Would that explain the barrier part?
Yeah, that's definitely getting there.
And maybe it's a connection because if I recognize if I recognize the pull towards trying to get to somewhere else, then it's pulling me to get to that other place and therefore is connecting me to change. That's the best I got, to be honest.
Yeah, good enough. Palin, what do you think?
It's what's coming for me is it's a narrow passage. And as a narrow passage, one has to be very careful to do things a certain way to be able to get to the other side. And if one is not careful, then that's where it becomes a barrier because it's such a narrow passage that, yeah, you can't just cross the passage by doing anything.
This is quite accurate, actually. Anissa says, maybe somebody put in there. Yeah,
I can read it.
you can read it.
Anissa says, maybe barzakh is the limit of the body, and the connection is the barrier by which it will allow that connection by going inward instead of outward.
Yeah, that's actually very insightful.
That's deep.
Yeah, and it will get right into the Gurdjieffian stuff. Got to finish up on the Ibn Arabi things, though. He said that living from the barzakh requires a cognitive balance. Practically, barzakh demands that we see with two eyes, and those two eyes are the eye of reason and the eye of unveiling, so that we neither reduce God to likenesses nor banish him to remoteness. It is a discipline of holding contraries without collapse. Easy. We can all do that. Then he talks about imaginative adab. The imaginal, the alam al-mithal, is not make-believe. It has its own lawfulness and mustn't be confused with fantasy. Misuse blurs true barzakh perceptions. And then he talks about ritual and devotion, dhikr, prayer, and concentrated himma. Himma is the resolute intention of the heart. And we will touch on that a number of times. So dhikr, prayer, and himma will refine the heart's mirror so it can stably witness imaginal disclosures, meeting meanings body to body in barzakh. Remember that phrase, body to body. So, barzakh, from Ibn Arabi's view, is the necessary middle that both divides and joins. Ontologically, it is, I love that word, ontologically. It is the imaginal world, the alam al-mithal. Epistemologically, it is the heart's balance, seeing, and the rest of it we don't need to worry about. So, now we go back to, or we jump forward a few thousand years, or several hundred years at least, and we get to Gurdjieff. And Gurdjieff, from time to time, taught a technique that he called sensing. And this is mostly just devolved into doing a body scan.
Like mindful body scans, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But my sense of it, in reading the literature and listening to Mr. Bennett talk about it, it's more than that. And that's going to be the rest of the talk, what he meant and how to use it. So,
Because that gives us the practical application of
yes,
everything we've talked about and the things we're going to continue to discuss. So these two things together, these two...
you disappeared.
Turn off my camera to dump my crumbs in my mouth, and I didn't turn it on again. Well, let's continue forward, shall we?
Forward, upward, backward, downward, sideward, all the words. So, when Gurdjieff talked about sensation and sensing, he was not talking about ideas or emotions. He was talking about an organic, whole body sense of oneself, the organic sensations of the body, and a sensation of oneself, of one's individuality. It cannot be expressed intellectually, yet when present, it makes you independent amid others. And that's a very cool thing about it. Now, Ibn Arabi, as usual, didn't give a lot of straight-on directions on how to do this stuff. I think he was protecting himself a lot, so you have to infer from his work. But fortunately, we have this. So here's how Gurdjieff used it in his work: to create a baseline sensation of presence. The practical aim is to keep this bodily sense continually, even during ordinary tasks, taking it as a quiet inner anchor that lets you remain apart. Remain apart, we're going to talk about. Gurdjieff even gave a hack. And this is dumb, but according to people, it worked. Wet a handkerchief and place it on the skin as a tactile reminder. When it dries, wet it again. I tried this years ago, and all it gave me was a wet arm.
But there are other ways that we can get the same.
About that.
Yeah. Without the wet arm.
Yeah. And this is the body share of the three-centered work. We know the three centers: the moving center, the emotional center, the intellectual center to start. And we talk a lot about being in your heart. Listen to your heart. And we talk a lot about stopping your thoughts, but we don't talk as much about being in the body and what that means. So the head plays the role of policeman. It supervises, but the real working pair is sensation and feeling. And that is moving center and heart center. You don't try and feel with your head. That doesn't work. You work with sensation and sensing and feeling while the head watches. So let's do this right now so you have a sense of what I'm talking about. Take your hands. And Anissa just said another really smart thing, which we will get back to in a moment. Put your hands down so that they're comfortable either on your lap or someplace else with the palms up. Now I want you to just sense your hands. Allow yourself to sense them front and back, sides. Sense the fingers. And I'm going to ask you to do a little weird thing, which is to sense the spaces between the fingers. Sense the hands. Now watch yourself sensing. Let the cognitive part of yourself observe the moving center sensing itself. And how many of you, I wonder, noticed that your breathing just became apparent? That your breathing is part of this. And if you find tension, you can relax it now. And then you can bring yourself back and think about how that felt. That moment of just being aware of yourself sensing, using the head center and the moving center together. How did that feel?
I found that really interesting. I could, when I was focused on sensing, when I put attention to my hands, um, I could feel them being more warm, and I felt a heartbeat through my hand, which is weird. But then then I got my breathing, and then it was the breathing. Breathing was apparent, and the heartbeat in my hand. So that was very interesting.
Yeah. Anyone else with thoughts?
I just found it to be very peaceful, particularly when you mentioned to pay attention to the breath as well. All of those things happening at once, just very peaceful.
Yeah, and this is why we work with the breath first, because it is really easy to sense yourself breathing, more so than anything else, because it's movement. And if you stop, you notice it.
Anissa, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, I was gonna say, um, it really helped me to go back to my body instead of, I feel like sometimes I'm so stuck up on how I breathe or the rhythm of my breathing and just focusing on my body. I feel like the rhythm was super natural, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And you made this observation about using jewelry or a tasbih to help you. And this is a very common thing and very useful. I have this little ring on my finger. It's simple silver with well, they call it an akik stone, which is a kind of agate. And it's there specifically to remind me to sense myself. Gives me a physical, tactile uh, response.
Mm. Yeah, I got this
Yeah.
permanent bracelet with my best friend a couple weeks ago, and I'm not numb to it. I have intentionally decided to allow the sensation of it on my skin to be something that calls my attention to it. And that it reminds me to ground myself, to breathe, to be aware of my body as we're discussing.
James, talk to us.
I noticed an immense temptation to become quite absorbed in my hands and breath and sort of lose myself there because it's quite pleasant and not have any sort of other observation happening.
Yeah, that can happen.
Hmm. I do enjoy that kind of stuff, so I think, yeah, I can be quite tempted in that direction.
Ian,
Yeah, there was something else that's kind of been in the back of my mind because you talked about this general topic before in different ways. One of the things I found and I've been finding that to be very useful to be more aware of my body in general. But it was very interesting because when we were doing this one, I realized I'd never really paid attention to focusing on my hands at all. It just hadn't occurred to me, and I thought that was very interesting, and it's an interesting
yeah,
feeling to
it's
be trying to
surprising
do
that
it.
more people don't catch on to this because the reason we start with the hands is because um, if you look at a homunculus of a person that shows where all of the nerves are by size, you have, a big head and body parts, and you have these huge hands. We've got so many nerves in the hands, it's really easy to sense them in detail. You get a lot of neurofeedback. And so I think you just got a touch of that. Payland.
So James's question reminded me of something that I wanted to ask about. I remember a few years ago, I had been doing this breathing exercise, and I was talking to you about it, and you asked me, was I aware of every breath? And I claimed yes. And you said, that's very unlikely for where I was at that moment. And you had mentioned it was likely I had put myself into trance. So then what James was saying sounded similar to me, which is I'm doing an exercise that's supposed to help me wake up. And yet somehow I can do it wrong that will put me into trance and make me fall asleep a little bit harder. So then the question is, how does one do this properly, I guess, to avoid going into trance and to help ourselves stay awake?
There are two ways. The hard way is uh, to try over and over again and struggle with it until you finally get it. That's the hard way. The easy way is you get a teacher who says, you think you're doing it, but you're not. And this is why. And this is what you can do to do it more. Unfortunately, good teachers are hard to find. Adrian makes a couple of useful observations here.
Yes, he said, in response to what Palin was saying about how the same practice can go either way depending on the degree of skill and consciousness, awareness rather, we bring to it. And Adrian says, hence the trap of barzakh as being connection and barrier, connector and barrier.
Yeah.
That's a really great that
it's a perfect
there we
description.
have another illustration of how this works. Yes. The breath itself, breath practice can be a barzakh.
Yeah. There's a great line from the Spandakarika. It says, the same energy that enlightens the yogi enslaves the common person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's exactly that.
Excellent.
Yeah. I just wanted to speak quick on the sensing exercise in dealing with physical pain and physical discomfort. Because if we can sense our hands here when there's no pain, can we sense them when there is pain in the same way? Just looking at it from a more objective point of view, the same way that we observe painful emotions. And it's like when I did just yesterday, I did a 30-mile trail race, and the legs are in pain, but I'm not identified with the pain, and instead it's simply sensing for the and just seeing, okay, this is just how the legs feel, but it is a way to like overcome the barrier. A lot of times we'll have pain in the legs, and that's the barrier, and we stop. But instead, it becomes the connector to, in a way, gives the legs more energy because we're really focusing on them now. And um, recently, I was sick and I had nausea all night, and I was vomiting. It was like the sickest I've been in decades.
Mm-hmm.
And after a few throw ups, I'm just sensing the organic sensation of nausea.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it's not as because you're learning from it, you're observing it, and it takes like that negative charge out of it because you're just seeing it for what it is. And then it's like I've actually learned a lot about the sensations of nausea that I was not aware of before. And so I think the same way that practice sense the hands when we're in pain or discomfort, try it then too, and it completely can change the experience.
Yes.
That
Agree.
is a really useful observation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think I've definitely, and Mushtaq definitely has done a practice where, okay, we're experiencing pain. We go deeper into the pain instead of emotionally resisting it. And that not only helps us cope psychologically because we're not in resistance to it in the sense of, God, I wish this wasn't happening and I'm starting to freak out because I can't control what's happening right now. It becomes a practice of, as you were saying, Brian, with the nausea, observing, watching it unfold in real time without reacting to it.
Sure, and I was also thinking too with Wael and his fighters when they first come in, they take a leg kick and like they're kind of in shock and they're kind of humbling around and like, but in time that completely goes away. A leg kick is a leg kick,
Mhm.
and they don't have to attach anything to it other than what it is.
Yes. And I think this helps us prevent injury or further injury because we are paying attention and not just powering through it with ignorance, basically. The ignorance of being asleep to our physical body.
100%.
And so it goes either way. This is another one of those barzakh things where it's being awake, being aware, being conscious that allows us to direct our, what's the word we used earlier? To take that focus and put it towards a goal, towards an intention through consciousness.
And it's also said that the emotional energy is required for self-remembering. And I could also you can use physical pain as the object of self-remembering also. And like I stubbed my toe, and instead of going into that what everyone does after they stub a toe, you say like I am into the pain, and that gives you that space to kind of get a grip, and then it's like okay, it just changes the reaction, I guess,
Mhm.
and we use it.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, that's again, Brian's observations are really useful for a number of things. And congratulations on your race.
And on feeling better.
Yeah. Oh, 30 miles of running is, you are going to experience sensations that most people never do.
Oof.
Yeah. Paylan, what do you think?
So I had a question, and Brian already said the magic words, which was self-remembering.
Mm.
Moment in the practice where we said, now bring your head in here, which is normally not a phrase I associate with self-remembering, but now become aware of yourself, being aware of the sensations. My question is, the practice that we just did together, is that a version of self-remembering, or is it different from self-remembering?
The answer is yes.
To both.
Yeah. And we're actually going to talk about that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Madame Jeanne de Salzmann, if Gurdjieff had a successor, she was it. As much as I really love and respect Mr. Bennett, he was not Gurdjieff's successor. He didn't do the Gurdjieff work as the Gurdjieff work. He did it as part of everything that he had learned, and it's still incredibly powerful. He learned a lot over his lifetime, and he put together, I think of what he does as the Bennett work, not the Gurdjieff work. But that's me. I would probably piss off a bunch of Bennett students if they heard me saying that, and I don't care.
Nope.
So her whole thing starts with this, her way of teaching, according to the book of her observations that was published after her death. And she observes conscious sensation is the first clear sign of a finer energy entering, the beginning of observance into something greater, or obedience, excuse me, into something greater. It appears as tensions release and attention becomes voluntarily passive, which to me means the attention focuses in a relaxed way on what is real as opposed to bopping all over the place. The idea is to keep a global body sense during the day, not just in set piece sitting, but in whatever you're doing. And that's another reason to have something like this little ring to remind me, hey, take a moment, make sure that you're still in your body, do your sensing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And hold that for as long as you can. You'll forget it, but you have a string around your finger to remind you to do it again. There are a number of different ways to do this, and I've tried them all as far as I know. And there's no one way that is better than the other to start this. It's what works for you. So for me, I like to start with the feet and move upward through my whole body. So I go from the feet, top of my head, out my arms to my hands, and I have a whole body sense. And there will be places of sensory motor amnesia. This is fun. There are places in your body that you do not feel. They are a void in your homunculus consciously. And you can find them. And when you find them, you can let your awareness move into them, and your body sense becomes greater. Does that make sense? This is a little esoteric, but I want to get it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting because when I've been paying attention to my body sensations, I've noticed that there's a lot of areas, particularly sort of in my upper body, that I just don't really feel.
Yeah.
And
Fuzzy,
I,
right?
I never formulated that as a question or an issue, but as soon as you pointed it out, I realized, yes.
The thing is, it's easy to remedy this just by giving time to make a mind-body connection with those physical parts of our body that seem kind of vague or fuzzy or absent. And this is something that I love bringing up the pain management program that I was a part of, because this is the kind of thing we worked on to help people reattune or attune for the first time to their physicality and be able to move with more stability and physical awareness by doing practices like this.
I had a friend that one time said that when body sensing, he would always say, "Don't forget your ear." Yeah. Just as like a reminder that there's so much to sense and to go through all those little vague parts or whatever, and that it's really is we want to get everything and don't forget the ear, which is um, you know something I try to remember when doing the exercises.
Yeah. It's a fun thing to play on people. I used to, when I was teaching hypnosis, look at them and go, until I mentioned this, did you realize that you were not aware of your left shoulder?
Yep.
And you watch people go. And Anissa, would you like to read her observation?
Sure. Anissa says, it's like we usually go for the general overall sensation. And if we keep on paying attention to the more smaller parts of our bodies and their subtleties, we can have a more in-depth sensitivity. Yes.
Exactly right.
So
I would go so far as to say that the general overall sense that we have is habitual.
Mhm.
This is what we always do. And going for those smaller, more subtle spaces breaks that habitual sensing.
Yeah. And the ease with which you can get that, get increasingly granular comes with practice. You can start with the general and then work it down, take a body scan and consider the body in parts, okay, feet, toes, heels, ankles, shins, calves. You don't have to be super granular at the start because you're just trying to wake things up. But over time, as you begin to sensitize yourself to the sensory amnesia, the sensory motor amnesia that Mushtaq is talking about, it'll become more obvious to you and you'll be able to get more granular. Like, wow, I can feel my big toe, but my second to last toe almost doesn't exist to me. So I'm going to give some attention to that. Okay, now that's incorporated into my active body map right now. It can be very simple. It just takes some time. Yes, James.
Well, now you've gone and just wrecked my complacency yet again, because in terms of getting an overall broad sweep of the body, I can do that quite easily. And now you're telling me, it's not such a big deal. You got to go granular. So you wrecked it for me.
Oops. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, the more skilled you get at this, the easier and the less time it takes to wake up the body. So there is that, but we just don't want to kid ourselves that, oh, I'm a pro. I've done this for 5 minutes for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I can get a sense of the breathing, the torso expanding control. I can do that fairly quickly and just do a quick sweep through the body, but yeah, it's not granular.
Mhm.
So
Adrian has said several really interesting things, which we got to go back and cover.
Okay.
Start with, reminds me of the Bene
Yes,
Gesserit finger movement.
yes.
And it's funny because when Herbert was crafting the Bene Gesserit, he used some real things.
Mhm.
Part of it, there was a thing that he did called prana bindu manipulation. That was something that the Bene Gesserit did to literally learn to sense their bodies. And he pulled that from some interesting places. And he talks about the Bene Gesserit finger movements. As it happens, that's a real thing. And our own Cherie Cito teaches that. And it's, of all of the things that she has ever shared with me, I think this is my favorite. And so I'm going to put a link to that exercise down in the comments at the end of this, because y'all could practice this and get stuff from it.
Yes.
Especially if you're a guitar player or play musical instruments, a flute player. And for those of you who are here, I am going to right now capture this and send the link in the chat. So you won't have to go back and look at the video or anything. So
yes, I know many of you have seen this and done it, but this is such a good practice that it's always good to return to it.
yeah, this is the Bene Gesserit finger movements.
Mhm. Cherie doesn't realize that she's teaching Bene Gesserit
Yeah,
way.
Cherie is a Bene Gesserit witch. Yeah.
Adrienne says, I caught myself more than once repeating that finger exercise. Great. Good. Me too, come to think of it. So Adrienne also compared it to ḥuḍūr dam.
Yes.
Yes.
What's ḥuḍūr dam?
Watch your breath.
It's one of
Awareness of
the,
breath. Breathe consciously. It's the first precept of our school.
the 9 precepts.
Yeah.
It's funny because I hadn't seen the terminology before, and I thought there must be some kind of typo in there somewhere.
Nope. No, it's just in Persian.
Yeah. Okay. Adrienne then asks, any resemblance to NLP anchoring?
Not per se. You can use anchoring sometimes to bring a part of your body into consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And but you need somebody who is actually skillful to help you with that until you learn the process. Then you can do it on yourself, but it's best to learn under the guidance of somebody who is qualified to teach you. Palin has another thought.
So this is a question for younger me. By now I have ways of dealing with it, but I've also been with you for a while. So the concept of sensation and how that's turned into a body scan. Younger me had a lot of sensory motor amnesia to deal with, and I still do. But so then a body scan, when I'm just sitting there and then trying to feel my body and trying to be like Zen or Om or whatever it is, it was a very frustrating experience because I couldn't feel parts of my body, or the parts where I did feel, I felt a lot of pain. And so what we just spent the last few minutes talking about between ḥuḍūr, watching our breath, between the finger practice, is that there are things, physical practices that we can do to help us wake up these parts of our body that we normally might have trouble communicating with. So just wanted to ask you guys for maybe more thoughts on different physical practices that could just help nudge this along.
I am so glad you asked that. I mean, if you think about it, how did I help you do that? Right? You spent a lot of time walking around in circles.
I also spent a lot of time doing additional things.
Yeah.
And so, for example, one thing I did was a lot of self-massage and different places that I didn't realize I didn't feel, except when I started massaging it, it hurt. One thing you had also showed me was my sensory motor amnesia was so bad. Back then, when I made movements, I never crossed my center line. And then crossing the center line helped get parts of the body to talk to other parts of the body as well. And it's been 6 years now, and only after a lot of time has breathing practice become tolerable or even helpful, because prior everything just hurt so bad and my brain would just skedaddle off like a squirrel on speed. So I think this is where the concept of there are things that we say a lot in practices, but there are also other things, the fact that we've done movements that require coordination and awareness of the body, the Tai Chi, the Bagua. For some people, that might look at like dance. I guess, just physical practices that different everyday people could do in their everyday lives to help with this.
Yeah. You really need to have somebody help you with this at first, because even though you will try and create movement that opens you up, you're working blind. You're trying to create a movement in a place that you have no perception. So of all the times when I went, no, drop your arm like this, breathe here, do all of this stuff, was designed to help you get past that sensory motor amnesia and find those places that you had shut off, even though they might have been going, if you look at me, I'm going to hurt you. And that helps. And I should say that this is going to be a major topic of our next retreat. We are going to be spending a full week studying this, hopefully in Turkey, working on the physical exercises that open you up to true sensing. They won't be the Gurdjieff dances because I think their time is past, but we have other things that are probably even older in some ways.
Mm.
And we did a little taste of that at the last retreat with our stick work. But we're going to go into it very, very deeply and see if we can send people away with an entire new ability to be present in their bodies.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot of Turkish coffee.
You all are.
No, I'll let you smell mine, which is about
All right, I'll let it waft.
Yeah.
Waft.
So
Yeah. So I I have a practical suggestion. I don't know if it's the right time for it in the course of this, but
Well, give it a try.
yeah. So, Peilon and I do Tai Chi together, and as she's learned, she's been teaching me. And one of the things that we have discussed is physically waking up the body, getting the muscles warmed up, getting the nerve endings firing in a positive way. So one thing that we've both done is using our hands to pat all over the body gently to literally get the senses going, to feel our body in space with our hands, but also to feel the pressure of our hands on our body. And on a practical level, that gets blood flowing, of course, but it also helps us build this sensory awareness that we often are severely lacking, all of us, because we're not that physical these days. And it doesn't take anything. You just have to tap basically everywhere you can reach, including the bottoms of your feet, your back, your butt, around your thighs, up over your chest, shoulders. Yeah, and cross, as Peilon was saying, cross the midline where you can, as well as tapping left side with left side and right side with right side. Because this allows your brain to connect with your body and your body to connect with your brain. There you go.
Yeah. So, Madame de Saltzman recommended that you use small shocks to intensify sensation when it fades. I think that if you're going to do that, you need help. Picking the shocks yourself can be problematic. So I'll just put that out there. And then she says, learn to read or act with all three centers. Think, feel, and sense rather than head only. In some tasks, hold sensation at several localizations and value contact more than perfect can't even talk today, than more than simultaneous stuff. The point is sustained contact, not mental imagery. And when she says contact, she's meaning actual physical contact. So in some martial arts, they have sensing practice of one form or another. In Chinese, they call it tuichu, which means to push hands. But that's the Tai Chi term and Bagua term. But lots and lots of martial arts do this. And if you take the same practice and take out the hitting each other, you have contact improv, which is a form of dance. And my friend Shuka, who is a master of this, will have a lot to say about it. I think we're going to have to interview him sometime soon because he's kind of a genius at this stuff.
And he's continually learning, which is exciting
Yeah.
for the rest of us as well.
But he's starting to teach.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing seminars and workshops now, mostly, well, all over the planet because he's famous as a dancer. So he gets drawn into places, but a lot of stuff in Germany, which is his home.
Mm-hmm.
And they are worth, if you have the time, the vacation time, and a little bit of money, go to Leipzig, take one of his seminars. You will not regret it. Well, you might be really sore for a few days, but you won't regret it. So our last little area, safeguards. And that means don't use the fruits of this that you develop until they're stabilized. Don't put them out in the world. Keep them inner work. Keep it inside. Let yourself play the role until you're really solid on this.
Play the role. Let's say more about that.
That means wear their persona. Don't
Yeah.
be yourself. And what name? Oh, Shuka Horn.
It's typed like this, but the S has a dot under it to make that that SH sound. You
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that. You'll find him even if you just type it out as SUKA. That's
Yeah, he has a
given
YouTube
name.
channel with
Yep.
intimidating things.
Yep. And then last name
Great.
HORN.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. And so the bottom line in all of this, and this is kind of our wrap up for this talk, except we're going to do a few practical things. For Gurdjieff, sensation is the body's living share of consciousness. Think about that. Sensation is the body's living share of consciousness. Cultivated steadily, it becomes a practical ground of self-remembering, an inner I am, I hate using that term because it's been so misused, that steadies attention. It bridges to feeling, it bridges to thought, and it lets us act in life without being swallowed up by it.
Yeah. Yep. And for Ibn Arabi, in turn, this is how we polish the mirror, as it were, so that we can reflect the so-called divine qualities that are already inborn within us, but which are covered up by our numbness, essentially, or they're invisible to us because of our numbness towards them. Anissa says, I've been doing this recently, where I try to anchor myself by sensing the breeze or the rays of the sun on my face. Yes. There are so many things that can serve as really life-affirming reminders that we have a body, that it has the gift of being able to sense all of these things about the world that we live in. She adds, even music, the tonalities and what they make you feel.
Yeah. Yeah, triggers or state shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sufis have known for centuries that the proper music will shift the hal of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting when that happens pretty much all at once. And this is not just for Eastern music. If you sit in a concert hall and you listen to Vaughan Williams' Lark Ascending, and you look around you, you'll see tears in people's faces just from the music. Not a single word, but it says things that the soul hears.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the magic is you're not getting lost in the experience. It's not taking you away from yourself, but you're able to be in your body and hold the the power of all that and still stay present. Yes, that inner landscape, says Adrienne. Yep.
So, we could talk about a lot of things, how the laws of 3 and 7 relate to this, because this is the interplay of the 3 forces. And it interplays through the octave. But we ain't got time to talk about all of that.
No, and I think this is such beautiful stuff on its own. If we can sink our teeth into this, perhaps we can take it forward into the more philosophical stuff. But
later.
Yeah. Later, and the practical applications, the felt sense in the body of what we're talking about, that matters more than anything else, by far. And earlier, RM, you asked about rocks or sticks. Was this maybe in relation to talking about reminders? Because at that time we were talking about, I think, the wet cloth, the wet bandana around the wrist or something like that. And I want to make sure that we don't just leave that by the wayside for you if you still have questions about that. So I'll give you a minute. Yes. Okay. So anything that can serve as Adrienne, a trigger. Of course, we mean that in a positive context here. Anything that can serve as a reminder.
Yeah.
Could be a rock, could be a stick, could be art on the wall, could be jewelry that you wear all the time. Yes. She says, we do that when we are in the park. That's beautiful. I love that. With her child, she means. Perfect. I definitely love that you're getting your little one in on this too. Yes, of course. The sand at the park. My brother and I were just talking about the old school playgrounds that we grew up playing at with the sand and the wood and the metal. We turned out okay on this plastic playground stuff, but in seriousness, these tangibilities really do help us connect to this inner sensing. It's all connected. Any other last thoughts or questions?
Yeah, I wanted to remind people that what you're doing with this is you are learning to play the human instrument. And the human instrument has 3 strings. It's a setar. And these strings are sensation, feeling, and awareness. When you're playing this, the string that is awareness is usually the drone. It observes, it watches, it sets the tone for what you're playing. And then body and feeling are what create the melody. But without that drone, it will go out of tune. It will go anywhere. You will not be able to stay where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
The aim is to separate and coordinate. Again, here you have the barzakh, the thing that both separates and brings together, so that each of the 3 strings creates a fourth. When you play them together, there's a 4th overtone that comes out of the music. And that is the real I. How's that for poetic?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, we could go on talking about this for hours. I have a whole section that I wrote on this, on the phenomenology of conscious sensation. But we're going to save that for later.
Yeah, we gotta save some goodies, right?
Yeah.
We do this every week. We gotta pace ourselves.
So one last thing, which is where all of this meets, the shared DNA between Ibn Arabi and Gurdjieff. And we have embedded remembrance. Both insist that presence isn't mental only, but presence is entire being.
Yes, it's embodied.
Yes.
Embodied. Yes.
And there are various ways that each does it, and they don't matter. Gurdjieff keeps using the term divided attention, or those who translated him did, and that's wrong. It's not divided attention. The brain doesn't work that way. It is expanded attention. What do I mean by expanded attention? Think of your hands. Feel your hands. Now, put that down and feel your feet. Now, feel your hands and your feet together. Feel your hands, feel your feet. Let yourself feel both at the same time. You'll notice that your attention doesn't divide, does it? That you don't get two attentions and you're flipping back and forth between the two. You get one attention that is expanded to take in greater and greater amounts of awareness. This is what we mean as Sufis when we talk about this, and I'm pretty sure it's what Gurdjieff meant as well. Alas. Anissa had to take off.
You did, yeah, but it was I love that she's able to join us
Yeah,
again.
it's really nice.
Yes, so you were saying that it is better for us to frame this as expanded attention. It's including more rather than this kind of splitting
Yes.
that may be what's the word I'm looking for? That may be implied by saying divided attention.
Yeah, when people say divided attention, they think multitasking. And the human
Yes.
brain does not multitask. I'm sorry. If you think you're multitasking, you're just being efficient and flipping back and forth between shit.
Not what we're going for here.
Nope.
And it's okay if that's what you are experiencing. Give yourself a bit of practice at heading more towards inclusive attention rather than split attention.
Yeah. So when Gurdjieff talks about divided attention, part on the work, part on you as an awareness, it's not split, it's expanded. And this goes under one of the 9 principles, which is watchfulness, which we can talk about some other time. Gurdjieff loved to use, and Sufis love to use, group, form, and rhythm. The Gurdjieff dances, proper dhikr circles that gather scattered attention and bring it together in presence. And external normalcy with an inner reserve, which is the adab, the inner etiquette of this. And this is the 4th precept of our particular work, Khawat Dar Anjuman, the solitude in the crowd. To be inwardly in the work while outwardly appearing normal to the straits. And so, I would suggest you do two things. One, look at Cherie's video, which you'll find down in the description, and learn the finger exercises. Let them help you be present. And two, begin your sensing exercises. And the safest and easiest one to do is sense your hands, sense your feet, sense both together. There's a lot more to this, but that's a great place to start. And it's a safe place to start. There. Any last questions, thoughts?
I think we've got some good stuff to practice.
Good. All right. Then I'm going to switch over to Brady Bunch mode.
There we go.
Yeah.
Me too.
Folks, it is, as always, a pleasure to have you all, especially those of you who get up at god-awful o'clock in the morning to be here.
Yes.
I'm staring at you, James.
Or stay up till, all hours to hang out with us. Much appreciated.
Yeah. But it's always wonderful to hang out with you. It's great to share these things. And we are grateful to God every day for your presence.
I mean.
So, wave at everybody.
Yeah.
And
Wave to each other. Wave to everybody watching on the replay. Thank you for
we'll
being
catch you
here.
next time. Next Sunday will be fun, so drop on by.
And we'll be meeting at our usual time of 6:30 p.m. Pacific on Sunday. So see you there.